Leah, welcome back, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to a vlog where I am finishing every single series that I'm currently in the middle of. I have never been much of a big series reader, but recently being in my fantasy era, I have started a bunch that I have not finished. So I have decided to embark on a journey where I finish every single series I am in the middle of. Am I going to regret this? Potentially. So my TBR for this video consists of 5 books, potentially even more. So going through them, arguably one of the ones that I am most excited but most terrified to read, we have Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. Obviously this is an incredibly new release. It is the last Magnolia and BJ book, and I am so terrified to read it that I knew I needed to film a vlog that I would read it in just so I could react with you guys. I know I'm gonna bawl my eyes out like a little bitch, so this is the first one that I'll be reading. We then have the continuation of The Serpent and the Wings of Night series by Carissa Broadbent, where I'll be reading 6 Scorched Roses on my Kindle. 6 Scorched Roses is actually the novella in between the first book and the second book, so I might even read the second book in this video. I absolutely adored Serpent and the Wings of Night so much. Carissa Broadbent's writing was astounding, arguably one of my favourite fantasy books of all time. You bet your ass I'm going to be reading all of these books so quickly. I am so excited. I feel like I'm absolutely going to fly through them. We also have I Am Flame by Rebecca Yarros, another one that I cannot believe I haven't read yet, considering I really did enjoy Fourth Wing last year, so I'm really intrigued to see how I feel about this one. I know that this one has received quite a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people do not like it in comparison to Fourth Wing, so I'm really intrigued to see how I'm going to feel on that. And then last but certainly not least, this book is the one that has been on my TBR for the longest. First read the first book in this duology when it first came out, so I want to say perhaps like 2018, 2019, and I got the sequel the second that it came out, and it's just been sitting literally rotting on my shelves, and that is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I cannot remember much about Ninth House, so I'm definitely going to have to recap myself before going into Hellbent, but I feel like I need to be forced to read this book at this point. I feel like if I don't read it soon, it's just going to sit around on my shelves forever, and I'm never going to get around to it. So this is the last book that we'll be reading for this video. Hi guys, I come at you by candlelight to let you know that I have finished 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. Oh my god, I'm very sorry for that glare, but I finished this book this morning and I read this so quick. Absolutely fell in love with this book. Guys, guess what? I rated it 5 stars. When I tell you that Carissa Broadbent's writing, I'm literally obsessed. She is definitely going to become a favourite author of mine. Obviously, The Serpent and the Wings of Night I read really recently and I rated it 4.5. Really had the intention of updating you whilst I was reading it, but because it is also a novella and how much I was enjoying it, I just absolutely flew through it. 6 Scorched Roses is the novella in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and the second book, The Ashes and the Cursed King, is what I think it's called. I might be incredibly wrong. So we are following different characters and different protagonists. In this one we are following Lilith and Vale. Oh my god, I am terrified because I feel like I've developed such fond appreciation and attachments to these 2 characters, kind of more so than I did in The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I think Lilith and Vale are going to be quite prevalent characters now in the series, or at least I really hope. So like if any of them die in future, I'm actually like, I'm telling you now, I don't know what I'll do. I fell in love with these 2 characters arguably more than a lot of the characters I've ever fallen in love with in my entire life in under 200 pages. How do you do that to me? I'm just kind of baffled at how much I adored this, even though it was so short. And although I really do wish it was longer because I loved this story and I loved these characters, it was the perfect length. Like, it never felt too slow, it never felt too quick. The pace was perfect. The tension was perfect literally from page 1. I just absolutely loved it. And Lilith as a character was so comforting to me. She was so raw and so real, and the way that she viewed the world and viewed herself, I absolutely adored. So yeah, that was 6 Scorched Roses. I really want to read the sequel in this video now too. And to be honest, I might, because there was a book that I wanted to read for this video, but it is an SMP title. It is a St. Martin's Press release, so I don't really want to read it for this vlog anymore. I might read it anyway, I just won't be talking about it, unfortunately. So by that knowledge, if I girl maths it, there's an extra space for this video, so I might actually read the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I actually have here because I just filmed my February wrap up. This is getting off to a great start because 6 Scorched Roses was 5 stars. And now guys, the book that I am currently reading, you're actually on top of her, so let me grab that before I show you. I started Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. When I tell you I'm fucking terrified, I am on page 96 and I already was so close to crying. I didn't yet, but my god was I close. And I'm so scared to carry on with this book. I know I'm gonna read it quick, so I wanted to show you guys that I was reading it before I binge read a lot of it. And yeah, I'll give you some updates once I've read more of this. Guys, I have read so much and I realized I haven't even given you a single update. I think the last time I updated you, I had just finished 6 Scorched Roses and rated it 5 stars. I have read a shit ton since then, so let me get all of the books and I will update you on where I'm at with them. So I've been reading 3 books for this video since the last time I spoke to you, and one of them I have decided to DNF. Take a wild guess before I tell you as to which one I am DNFing. I'm DNFing Iron Flame. I was listening to the audiobook of this and I'm not gonna lie, it just got to a point, and bear in mind I DNF'd 45% of the way through. I really could have stuck it out, and if the book was shorter I absolutely would have, but I was like, I can't do another half of this book, like I can't do it. I DNF'd it at 45% of the way through, and honestly I feel like that was the best thing for me to do. I kind of went into it knowing that there were a lot of mixed reviews and some people really loved it, some people not as much. And bear in mind, when I first read Fourth Wing, I loved it. I rated it 5 stars. I have since read a bunch more fantasy, so now it definitely wouldn't be 5 stars. Obviously still, because I actually quite enjoyed Fourth Wing, I did kind of have some expectations going into this, and I've never been so bored in my entire life. When I tell you that this book, a whole lot of nothing, the first 45% was literally just Violet thinking that people were out there trying to kill her. And like, babe, I get it. Based off the last book too, I get it. I understand, but like, you can't have a 700-page book just about that. Literally nothing was happening in this. It felt so rushed, but at the exact same time so incredibly slow. Like, I can't even explain it. Nothing was happening in this, and even when it came down to a lot of the characters that I liked in the first book, in this one I just didn't care anymore, and they were just actually starting to annoy me. So I decided to DNF Iron Flame. I don't know if I ever will try to pick it back up again, but yeah, no. Like, now just wasn't the time. I DNF'd it. Thank the Lord for that. Another half of the book that I definitely will be doing though, and I am kind of terrified about, is Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I think I gave you a little bit of an update when I started it, but I'm very much in it now. I'm on page 365, chapter 46. I would say that's just about halfway. I'm really hyper aware that this is the last Magnolia and BJ book, so much so that I really want to take my time and like simmer with it and appreciate it, and I'm definitely doing that. I'm kind of flicking between the physical copy and the audiobook. The audiobook is now on Spotify, so I was like, okay, perfect opportunity to listen to that. And it's so funny listening to the audiobook. I never really realized that when I listen to audiobooks, and I do tend to listen to a lot, 9 times out of 10 the narration is from an American, like somebody American. With this one it's obviously not, because it's set in London, so hearing like a UK, a London accent do a audiobook, it really did take some getting used to. It kind of made me laugh quite a bit, and I couldn't really take it seriously to begin with, but now I'm completely fine with it. What I'm gonna say is that this one speaks a lot about grief, and the way that it is speaking about grief and Jessa Hastings is narrating that is astounding. Unfortunately so relatable. I'm finding so much of this book relatable, and it is quite a heavy read, so with that I think that's also why I'm kind of taking my time. Obviously I'm really loving it. Was definitely expecting to love it. I wasn't really expecting anything else. Definitely gonna read some more of this today, and I promise I'm gonna give you regular reading updates, because I've had a hectic week, which is why I kind of haven't had the time to update you. But really loving Into the Dark. And then the last book that I'm currently reading is The Ashes and the Starcast King by Carissa Broadbent on my Kindle. This is the 3rd book in the Serpent and Wings of Night series, or really the 2nd book, because I guess the novella doesn't really count. And guys, I'm loving this. I'm finishing this today. I think I'm about 80% of the way through, so I probably literally have like an hour left. When I tell you I am utterly obsessed with this series, like I have literally binge read them back to back, as you would have seen. Oh my god, also I haven't even shown you my stickers on my Kindle, but literally look at how cute they are. I'm obsessed. The Ashes and the Starcast King, I'm absolutely adoring. I will say that this book is obviously a lot more kind of heavier in terms of the world building and the actual politics of its fantasy in comparison to the first one. Based off of how the first one ended, it was always going to be like that, and I knew that, and I'm really liking it, to be honest. I haven't read a lot of fantasy that is heavily kind of political, and this one I wouldn't say is heavily political, but it's in there. I love the lore and the history of this world. I love the characters so much. 6 Scotched Roses, obviously we know was 5 stars. We had Vale and, oh my god, Lilith, but they are in The Ashes and the Starcast King, and seeing them in this, literally fills my heart with so much joy, and I'm equally terrified. Like, if anything happens to any of them, I'm not doing it anymore and I'm never reading a fantasy book again. But I'm really loving this. I feel like Carissa Broadbent is definitely going to become one of my favourite fantasy writers ever. Obviously I have very much binge read this series, and I'm so now aware that something else in the series isn't going to come out for so long. I fear I'm going to have to reread this entire series once I finished it again, but I know she also has another series. If you've read that, let me know which one you actually prefer. I don't know anything at all about her other series, but knowing how much I'm loving her writing, I will no doubt adore it. But yeah, I'm reading The Ashes and the Starcast King. We'll definitely be finishing this today, so I will give you a final update on this book today and my review of it. I'm having such a good time reading all of these sequels other than I Am Flame. I'm not thinking about that. I'm now going to go to a cafe and do some work and also try and finish this, and let's hope the ending literally doesn't break my heart. I finished The Ashes and the Starcast King. You would have seen my reaction to me finishing it. It was, oh my god, a stressful time, the ending of that book. And I'm not gonna lie, it has been a couple of days since I finished it, and Carissa Broadbent has now announced the third book in this series. I thought I was gonna have to wait so long. I only need to wait until November. Still a really long time, but because I know that these are getting traditionally published now, I was fully expecting like next year. I literally cannot wait. I need this book in my hands like right now. I was so stressed and so scared about how it was gonna kind of round up. I knew that this series was going to be quite a long one. I don't know how many books. I want to say like around 6 or 8. But I didn't know that with The Ashes and Starcast King, it kind of rounds up Rain and, oh my god, the way I forget these characters' names all the time, even though I love them so much. Rain and Araya, it kind of rounds up their storylines as like protagonists of the book, but surely like these characters have to kind of be in the rest of the series, and I'm just so intrigued to see where it's going to go. I absolutely adored this book. When I say this series is my new hyperfixation, like Carissa Broadbent, I don't know what she puts in her books, but it's like crack to me. Like, I need it all. Please. So I have now caught up with this series. I have really been in my binge reading fantasy era, and I'm loving this, but equally like now where do I get my fantasy fix? Like, I need a new series to read. It is a real double-edged sword, because part of me is like, okay, well, because of this video, like I'm going to be finishing pretty much all of the series I'm currently reading, so now I have space to read new ones, but I'm going to get into this continuous cycle of being in so many series and reading so many series at the same time, having to do this video and then thinking it grants me the opportunity to read so many more, and it's going to be a vicious cycle. So this video may happen more than once, but yeah, that was me finishing The Ashes and the Starcast King. I also rated this one 4.5 stars like I did The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I am in love with this series. I feel like I'm going to talk about it forever. And then obviously the other book I was currently reading was Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, and I am still currently reading it. I have this much left. I'm terrified. I am on page 577. I think I just have over 100 pages left. I'm definitely finishing it today. I can't remember if in the last clip I also claimed I was going to finish it today, but this one I definitely am, because I'm also filming another video that I'm going to read this in, sort of. I'm so excited to finish it because I've been reading it for so long, but equally like the thought of never having another BJ Magnolia book, and also just not having a like Magnolia Park's Daisy Hates sort of universe book for so long breaks my heart that I want to take all of the time I can with it, and I feel like I've been really good at doing that, but today I feel like is the day. I'm probably gonna cry at the ending. Oh my god. Guys, I finished Magnolia Park's Into the Dark and I am literally destroyed. I finished this in a 24-hour readathon, which is coming a little bit after this video, so you'll definitely see that soon. And oh my god, you would have seen, I cried, I laughed. I don't know how I feel about the ending because I'm so happy but equally like so destroyed that that is the end of Magnolia and BJ's story. I'm sure obviously we'll see them in the Daisy Hates books, but the fact that this was the last like book for them, it was so good. I absolutely love this series. These characters are so real in my brain, which is probably why I adore them so much. Like, I genuinely think sometimes if I go to London I could bump into these characters. as if they're not fictional, and I just adored it. I ended up rating it 4.5 stars. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is I feel like it was a little bit too long. That's kind of counterproductive to everything I've just said, because obviously I want as much as possible when it comes to Magnolia and BJ, but when it comes to a lot of the themes in this book, especially surrounding Magnolia's family, I just feel like some scenes were a little bit too long and quite extended. Like, this did not have to be over 700 pages, but equally that's not really a complaint because I'll get as much as I can. But yeah, because of that it was 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. I need the next Daisy Hates books because we got some like scenes in this to do with Christian and Daisy, and I need to know what is happening, like what is happening with them. Oh my god, I really hope that they're published soon. I loved it. I finally finished it. 4.5 stars. I love these characters so much. But now let's get on to reading Hellbent. This is the one I'm most scared to read. I'm currently reading Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I literally own this book in every single format. I have the physical copy, the Kindle book, and also the audio book. Kind of been flicking through the Kindle book and the audio book, but now I'm kind of just solely listening to the audio book. I'm 26% of the way through on chapter 14. This is the one in this video that I was the most skeptical about, the one that I was more nervous about, solely because I read Ninth House when it was first published like 3-4 years ago now. Obviously a lot has happened in between then, so I kind of forgotten the plot, so I did do a little bit of a recap before going into this, but it honestly isn't that confusing. I was really worried that I would have no idea what is happening in this based on the fact that I forgot most of Ninth House, and to be honest probably could have reread it and like it would have been like I was reading it for the first time. Upon consuming a recap for Ninth House, I definitely remembered what had happened, so it isn't confusing, and I'm loving that. What I'm loving so much about this, and I loved in Ninth House, it was one of the main reasons that I really liked Ninth House when I read it, was the atmosphere in the setting of the occult and ghosts and like the dark academia vibe that Leigh Bardugo paints is perfect, and I'm eating it up. This is a book that you want to read in autumn. Like obviously I'm reading it in spring, definitely not autumn, definitely not the sort of dark academia vibe, but I'm still absolutely loving it. In terms of the plot, obviously I can't say too much because it is the sequel, but I'm so intrigued to see where it is going. Like I kind of forgot how attached I was to some of these characters. I'm remembering what happened in Ninth House and seeing their situations now and what is happening and what is probably going to happen. Like I'm really nervous for the ending, like the second half of this book. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was expecting, which is always such a joy. I'm gonna read some more of this today and I will be back with some more thoughts. I finished Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Very aware that I barely gave you any reading updates, but honestly I ended up just binge listening to the rest of the audiobook. I will say I do think I preferred the first half in comparison to like the second half and like the middle. That sort of started to drag slightly for me. I was definitely still really enjoying it, especially in terms of the setting and the atmosphere. As I said, that's like my favorite thing about these books, and even in this I feel like I felt this more than I did in Ninth House. In terms of how I remember my reading experience with Ninth House, I really remember liking it, but I wasn't like obsessed. It wasn't something that I rated like 4 stars. If I remember right, I think I rated it like 3 stars. I could be wrong, but that is what I sort of remember from that experience, and from that I definitely preferred this. As I keep saying, the occult and the dark academia vibe and just that entire like lore, Leigh Bardugo constantly does so well. All of the books I've read from Leigh Bardugo, the settings and the characters for me are her strongest points, not necessarily in terms of the pacing or the plot, but the settings and the atmosphere and her characters really carry her books for me, and this was absolutely no different. If anything, I think this really proved that point. I adore so many of the characters in here. I adore a lot of their relationships to one another. I adore the sort of like found family vibe. I love the stakes that this book came with, and in terms of what the protagonist had to do, again obviously the sequel, so I really don't want to explain that. The stakes were so high in this. I love the way that it did not hold back the supernatural element. I really ended up liking this. I don't know what I'm gonna do in terms of a rating. Definitely umming and ahhing in between like a 3.5 star and a 4 star. I don't really know. I will definitely decide. It will be on my Goodreads. Definitely like this a lot more than I was anticipating, which I'm so happy about. I'm so excited, I was anyway, to read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, but now that I've also read this and I've sort of like caught up with her backlist, so excited for that one. I feel like that could definitely be 5 stars. And yeah, that was Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, and that also marks the end of this video. I loved filming this video so much. I have now read the majority of, if not all, of the book series that I'm currently in the middle of in terms of catching up or finishing them. As I endlessly keep saying, I'm really in my fantasy era right now. I'm reading series like back to back, and I'm starting series more than I ever have before. So this video will probably happen again. If you would like to see me do this again, please definitely let me know, because I feel like I've read so many series in this video now. Obviously I have. I'm gonna start even more as justification for this video, but again, it's gonna be an endless cycle. I'm very pleasantly surprised by all of the books I read in this video. They have all been hits. Like, I loved all of them. If you've read any of the books that I read in this video, or you have started the series, or you have finished them, or if now they're on your radar, please definitely let me know. And please, if you have any good series recommendations for any genre, but especially fantasy, if you have any, please send them my way. Like, this is a call out for fantasy book series recommendations, or any series, but definitely fantasy. Like, that is all I want to read right now, so please send them all my way, and maybe they'll be featured in the next video that I do like this. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching and for spending some time with me. I hope you really enjoyed. If you watched this far into the video and you don't really know what to comment any snake emoji, or like any dark academia emoji for Hellbent. Hey guys, thank you again so much for watching and for spending some time with me, and I will see you again very, very soon with another video.